this is something that we've been exploring and developing, but it's still discovery for us as well. So this is an opportunity to get some reflections from you. We'd love your input on what this is, and our questions are very much around: is this useful? Can we create, or can we make visible something that can really be used by people in whatever context that they're coming from? I think that's one of the big questions that we've been sitting with. What are those things that are common to all organizing efforts, all collaborations that we can practice together, or build capacity, so that whatever circles we move in, whatever collaborations that we are part of, we are there, we're ready. So it's a question: what are these? Are there things that are common to all? And if so, what are they? So
what are they?
Yeah. Maybe a little assumption to begin with, and we spoke about this in the framing. There's an assumption, at least that I'm seeing, that when we talk about organizing, and organizing, an event, organizing something on a larger scale, what we're actually seeking to do is to create the conditions for self-organizing, so that it's not that we are needing to control, or that we are needing to manage everything. There are some elements of this, and we can be very effective at this. History tells us that we can get things done in this way very quickly. But is it the best way for us to organize today, with some of the situations or the context that we are seeing, with the complexity in the world? So if we assume that what we're aiming to create are conditions for self-organizing to take place, this is how nature works. Nature works in very much an organic and a self-organizing way. You look at the way a hive of bees functions. There's no one single bee that tells the others what to do. It's very much an organic. There's magic in it, you could say, and nature works that way. So how can we rediscover the self-organizing principles that are part of us, that are part of our human nature as well? So this idea that there are some things that are common to all collaborations, to all organizing efforts, was what led to the creation of this model. As Toke and Rowan and I were talking about, what are these things that are involved in the work that we do? We started naming the different elements of the work that we are involved in, and we realized, there are some common things to all. We're calling them foundations for good collaboration, or powerful collaboration. And it was only after we surfaced these that we realized, there's actually already a model which talks about foundations or good practices for working well in complexity. And many of you here who have been to an Art of Hosting event will know the fourfold practice. The fourfold practice, for those of you who don't know it, is an individual and collective practice for creating, for being and working together well. It's a practice that has 4 elements, each of which it's one practice with 4 elements that include and transcend each other. The first of which is about hosting yourself. In order that you can be fully present with whatever it is that you're doing. So hosting yourself in whatever way that helps you to be present. For some people that means doing exercise. For other people that means meditation. For other people that means going for a walk in the woods. Whatever it is for you, make sure that you can be in top form so that you can contribute your best self to whatever you're doing. So a foundation there. The next is about,
And I guess in this context, with this lens, this is the message I got in saying it's organize yourself.
yeah,
Sorry, what? Sorry,
You know, so what I spoke in the, that this message I got from my boss, organize yourself first before you want to go organize anything else.
Okay,
So
yeah, got
from
it.
the lens of organizing, we would say, organize yourself by hosting yourself well, make sure you're in a good place.
So the next practice is about allowing yourself to be hosted by others. So essentially this is about participating and being curious about what is going on, allowing yourself to let go of what you think you know to be right and to be curious about what other truths might be out there. So to be a learner, to become somebody who is in learning as a practice. So be hosted, participate. The next is about hosting others. And this is about making invitations to others to either be in conversation around important matters, inviting people to collaborate in work that is important to you. It's sometimes a scary step. I'm hearing Metta in this position at the moment. To what does it take to step up into leadership and invite others to join you in a conversation or on a project. And the last is actually to integrate, each of these, it's like this idea of hold-ons. To be hosted requires you to be present. To host others requires you to be able to invite others and let go of what you think you know and also be present. And the last is to co-create. With others. So integrating these 3 and becoming a community that practices all of these together, a community that learns together. This is I think when we become most wise is when we can be practicing all of these things together and become a learning community. Peter Senge talks about learning organizations, and this is how we can become collectively intelligent. We can have a group of independently intelligent people, but until that group of people knows what they know together, they're not important, or until they can learn together, they're not intelligent. So this is the fourfold practice, and it's an iterative process. There is movement here. And you never stop being in practice. That's the whole point of practice. What we're seeing here is that this is also a 3-dimensional model. So if you can imagine that this is spiraling, you get to a point here where we're in co-creation. This is about how we organize ourselves together. This is about how we collaborate well. And we discovered that the model that we have crafted, which we are calling the foundations of powerful collaboration, this is actually at the next level of the fourfold practice. It sits on the next level of the spiral. It grows out of this practice of co-creating. And if you see this as a, more of an individual practice, the next level is, okay, we are now coming together as collaborators. What is our shared practice for creating or for organizing or collaborating well? It's a slightly different shape. It doesn't have the four circles, but it has 4 quadrants and then a few things that are common to all. Are you all with me so far?
Can you just tell me, you said the next level of the fourfold practice and you named it?
So that this model that I'm just about to
Yeah.
offer you, its working title at the moment is the Foundations of Powerful Collaboration.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. For the sake of giving it a name, there might be a better one which you can help us
It's
identify.
not as catchy, I would say, but
No.
yes, yeah, let's work on that.
Yes.
0.5.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to look at some of these, but I'm thinking it might be. I'm going to try something. I'm curious to hear some, or to surface some of the reasons why collaborations don't succeed. Why might we fail in our organizing efforts? And to map a few of those, and then see what can we see in this model that could support or could prevent that from happening. So maybe just shout a few reasons why an organization or collaboration might fail.
Ego. And I'm saying that because I think I'm a good organizer and doing co-creation. Sometimes I don't think people co-create as good as I do. You know? So I fight with my ego because my quality, my output is certainly better. You know, that's my old thinking certainly. And it's before I started with art posting. I thought that. Now not anymore.
Thank you.
Certainly.
What else?
Communication, relationship.
Somehow I find experience sometimes disturbing because people relate to their experience rather to create something new. They will say, okay, we've done it that way. I guess we heard that many times in our lives. We've done it that way. We should do it that way again. So sometimes experiences to create something new, it's not very helpful sometimes.
Lack of shared goal or purpose.
Anything else?
Different needs?
Of the people who are involved?
Maybe the same goal, but different needs.
Confusion around roles, responsibilities and accountability. Burnout.
Lack of time and or bad time.
Great, these are really good.
I have one thing, yeah. This is from 10 years of co-creating theater performances. And one of the things that I realized the last year is that a huge challenge is, I work with actors, and a lot of them are performing artists and not what do you call it? Skabende kunstner, what's that?
Creating.
Creative artists. And I have seen again and again that a lot of them lack they are not able to take responsibility for their desire, which is at the foundation of being able to be creative. That you can take responsibility for your own desires. And I have seen that again and again, which will weaken the co-creation.
Can you explain? I'm not quite sure that I understand that in practice. What do you mean?
For
When you
me,
use the word desire, what would you call that in Danish, Troels?
lyst.
So, is that desire? Hvad hedder lyst?
Lust.
Yeah, no, it's
You mean-
passion.
So you mean they
What you
expect the
really
leader?
want?
It will. I mean, it has a lot to do with ego also. But yes, you will have several different kind of behaviors. They will expect the leader. They will, in some ways, not take responsibility for their own desire to create. In some ways, they will all the time try to run away from that responsibility.
And have a director telling them what to do?
For example.
For example.
Yeah, but it can be many ways.
It's good that there's a director to tell them what to do.
So I put it down as lack of responsibility.
Yes, but I think
It's
the
it's
desire-
more than that, but
Yeah.
so we can
But for your own desire,
Personal
or your own
responsibility.
passion, or
Oh.
I think that's a really important part.
That for me, the desire part is very important.
There's a funny one, very Danish and very alternative as the party, that is people questioning the process.
Yeah.
Everyone has a say there.
Right.
So can you sit at another place now? That would be better for those over here. Can you use another color for that one? Oh my god.
Opinion about the process, but not taking responsibility to make it successful yourself.
Yeah.
So fear?
fear.
And I would add to that fear of money
Oh, yeah.
and lack of conscious financial economical structure.
One or two more.
No.
Assumptions. So as we said in Dutch Corner, assumptions are the mother of all fuck-ups. I quite like that. It means that you believe is a belief that doesn't help you to co-create.
Yeah.
So that would be an assumption.
Good one.
Or another assumption, we'll never make money with that. It's a good
Or we're
assumption.
not allowed to lose money.
Ooh, now this is even deeper. Am I worth to earn?
And trust.
Trust.
In my experience, there is something about people looking for a leader, so I don't know if that's something. So, okay, we've all done this, we've all created, we've co-created, we've got our collective wisdom, now who's gonna tell us what
Who's
to
in
do?
charge now?
Yeah, and if nobody steps up, then it collapses.
Leadership.
But from a person,
Mm.
not co-created, you know, not co-leaders, but a leader, the director, or, you know, we look to you, you're our leader.
Great. And there's many more. I'm sure we could draw from our own experience, and we could surface many other reasons why
Mhm.
we don't succeed as well as we might. So this is interesting. I'm going to unfold a little bit here what we're seeing as some of the foundations of powerful collaboration, and connect it a little bit to some of the practices that we might be able to pull in to support the strength of those foundations. And also to say that there is no recipe for good collaboration or for good organization. It's a practice. It's a shame, huh?
It's a shame.
Yeah. So, I think as we name some of this, we might start to see some mirroring of the elements that we've pulled out. First thing that we have in the center, you won't be surprised, the foundation at the center of all of this is clarity around need and purpose.
For the team that collaborates.
Yeah. Like what's the need you are seeking to address with this project, with this organization? And then how do you organize yourselves around that need so that you have a clear purpose together? There are many different ways to address a need. You need to choose one and to be clear about that. So clarity around need and purpose is the thing that holds everything together in the organization. And lack of clarity around that means that you could say it's like the bedrock on which you build your structure. If that's unstable, then you can't create a good foundation. Nothing else will stand clear.
I think it's a challenge, especially in organizations where the need or the purpose is like thrust on people. It's not, they're not asked, what's your purpose? Not even the client is asked, what's your purpose, what's your need? Our need is just to make money, for example, or just to make the company bigger, that's our purpose. So how do you work with that when such things are thrown on a team?
Absolutely.
So how do they co-create in a good way, without selling their own purpose and needs? So I find that an interesting part. So
Yeah, and that connects well to the next foundation we have here, which is about the cultural foundation, or the cultural conditions that are in place within the social field that you're working in. So you might be in a smaller project that has a team of 6 or 7 or 10, where it's quite easy to create a culture within that team that is clear, or you might be working with the alternative, where you have many stakeholders and a culture which is evolving because you're creating it as you go. So this foundation is one of the most intangible. It's the hardest to see. We can feel it. We can sense it when we're part of an organization or a collaboration. You can feel
the culture.
Does this feel like something that is this a healthy place to be working? Do we have a shared sense of clarity on what's the relationships at play? There's I think it's safe to say that this, after need and purpose, this is the most important determining factor for success, or the relationship between the need and purpose and the health of the social field is the determining factor for success. There's this beautiful quote, Otto Scharmer. It says it's the quality of the field determines the quality of the yield. And connecting back to our metaphor of working with the land.
Yield is harvest.
After harvest, okay.
Anyone who is working with growing food or growing crops knows that what they're actually doing is trying to create a healthy soil. It's the health of the soil, the life in the soil, the diversity of microorganisms, the organic matter, the nutrients there. If the soil is healthy, your crops are going to be healthy, no question. So the same applies to our social fields. If you can create a healthy field where there is trust, where ego is not a big problem, where we don't have fears that are blocking us, where we're all taking responsibility and leadership for ourselves, where we're all conscious about why we are working together. How does my individual need connect to the larger need that we're looking to serve, to meet? The cultural foundation touches on all of those, and there's a thing about practice. How do you actually practice being together? This is where the art of hosting is like a foundational practice for strengthening this piece here. It defines how you are together as a team, as an organization.
Yeah, and it sometimes needs the development, because when the culture is very linear and very hierarchical, so the boss always knows everything, you have to sort of change the culture first, or make an invitation to change the culture and to change the context in order to then co-create.
The next foundation, it's a little bit like a fourfold practice where each builds on and sort of transcends the next one, includes and transcends. Next is the strategic foundation. This is where you start to surface clarity of direction. What is the vision that you're trying to create? And how does that connect to the need that you're trying to serve? So your purpose, your need, your purpose, and your vision or your desired outcomes create a dynamic tension that allows you to find a direction and to create a strategy for getting there. You can't be strategic unless you know where you want to go. So this is also the foundation where the art of harvesting plays a really important role as a foundational practice. So defining what it is that we want to harvest and being able to work strategically in order to gather that. The next foundation the structural foundation. This is where it starts to become more visible, at least for those who are working, who are part of the collaboration. You can start to see where power comes in, where hierarchy plays out, the different roles or responsibilities that others that you're taking on. This is where it's really important to be clear on how do we organize ourselves? This is the word organizing, but how do we structure ourselves? What are the different functions that are needed for us to sustain ourselves in this organization? What is the infrastructure that we need? Space to meet, information sharing processes. Is a filing cabinet? Is a online Google Drive folder? What are our processes or our ways of sharing information? So this is where we start to get into more of the more mainstream sort of management, project management domain. And it doesn't necessarily mean you need to create your own organogram using line management and divisions and so on. What we're seeing is that the best self-organizing systems are able to adopt whatever form is most applicable in that time. So it means that they can come together in circle. And if they come through, we can break out into action groups and get things done. can hold the big picture and be there to guide us. We're not afraid of hierarchy. We're not afraid of hierarchy to experience. So there are different structures at play, and it's important that we have those structures because they are what support us in our efforts. And I think this is one of the things that, particularly those of us who are keen to move away from the conventional hierarchical structures, is we try to get rid of all hierarchy, get rid of all structure. And then we find ourselves in total chaos. So it's really important that we are putting in place those structures that serve us. Don't overstructure it. Just what is the structure that can serve? And this one here we call the practical foundation, or the foundation where action can take place. And this is where you begin to apply. This is where you move out into the world, beyond your organization, and you actually implement your strategy, the work that you're trying to do. This is where you're really working to meet the need. And it's not to say that there isn't action involved in all of these. In order to create your good culture, you need to act, practice within yourself. In order to define your strategy and co-create it with your stakeholders, you need to act as well. In order to create structures, there's action. So there's definitely overlaps. These are not mutually independent. They're all connected. The last one around the outside is the economic foundation. And we tend to think of money when we think economy, but the economic foundation can also be what, if you think of the question, what brings life, what creates life in our organization. I know you have many volunteers within the alternative who are working for reasons other than money. And that's a really important source of energy. So I guess it's important to think about where does that energy come from. If you use the example of the oak tree, which we've already spoken about, the oak tree gets its energy from sunlight, but it also gets nutrients from the soil. It also respires, so it gets carbon dioxide from its surrounding environment. There's energy, or there's the inputs to create life within that organism come from different places, not just money, but you do need to have a strong economic foundation in order for the organization to be healthy, for those people who are part of it to support themselves and support each other, and in order for you to do the work in the world that you need to do. Without that, you're going to end up hating each other, you're going to burn out. That energy needs to come from somewhere. And the way our world is organized these days, some form of currency, money, is where energy comes in.
Is this like one of these resources? Is like that's
Could be, it's resources could be another way of looking at it. So here's 6 foundations, and we're going to look at, as we move through the next 2 days, we're going to look at some of these in a bit more detail. I think it's important to mention that all of these are needed, at least from what we can see. If you take one of them out, you're compromising the collaboration, or the foundation becomes unstable. Similarly, if one is weak or you have an imbalance, the power of your collaboration is weakened likewise. Something else we're also noticing within this model is that we have, it seems to sit upon two, what we're describing as planes. There's something about the foundations that sit along this plane that seem to do with relationships. The relationships of the people involved, the social field, the relationships between them and how they organize and how they structure themselves, and their connection to the need and purpose. So relationship seems to be an important piece here. You could also, if you're using the terms masculine and feminine, this would be where you're seeing the more feminine qualities of hosting, midwifing, nurturing. And they tend to be the qualities that are less visible in a conventional setting, whereas those that are much stronger tend to be on this side. And you could describe these as the masculine or the directional qualities of defining strategy and acting, so creating movement. So we can see that we have actions or whatever it is that you're doing within your organization to make sure that you have balance between all of these foundations.
You want to put those in the
Yeah,
foundations?
I'll stick those on. So, yeah, I think I'm going to leave it there because we'll dive a little deeper into some of these later, and you'll have a chance to work with elements within each of these on the template. And there's also a more detailed description in the book that you have, including what are the principles that govern each of these foundations, what are some of the core practices that you can work with to strengthen this foundation, and there's also links to some of the tools and resources that we know of that you can use to help you.
Love the model. Super. It was a co-creation.
It was, yeah. Wondering if you guys have anything you want to add.
I think so. I would like to add two small observations that we made when we were making the templates and when we were working on this. One thing is around how we are getting to the clarity of need and purpose, and one thing that also for me connects to all of this, which is looking at who are we, who are the people, who's the core team, who's the stakeholders, who's supporting us. So looking at this through the eyes of the different stakeholders, I think for me is something that's starting to show up. How do the different stakeholders see the need and
Hi
purpose?
Sasha, come in, come.
Ja, det har beställt mat.
Yeah?
Kom, jag bara sitter kom.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
So having clarity on the stakeholders and seeing how do they play into these different foundations, what are their different expectations, what are their desired outcomes, what are their agendas that they're bringing into this, how are we involving them in the conversation, what are the relationships we are creating with the stakeholders. So for me, that's an element that I'm starting to see more. Not quite sure, but for me right now it's kind of looking at these foundations through the eyes of the stakeholders that is making a lot of sense and giving another perspective. And the other one, which connects to the whole idea of groundwork, is this separation, which is probably where we started the whole exploration of this. That there's something that's invisible under the ground, and there's something that's visible over the ground. So the actions and the structure, that's something, that's the space we sit in, that's the, it's what we do, it's what we create, it's very tangible, where the cultural and the strategic is what we are internalizing. It's what's under the ground, the quality of the field that you're speaking to. And how do we really tend to that and come to that clarity of tending to this space where the visible, the action and the structure can grow out of? I think that's...
More on there. Maybe two little things. Need and purpose. It's again, who is having the clarity of need and purpose? I think part of our learning over the years is that collective clarity of purpose. Collective clarity of purpose between those who are ready not just to have the desire or the vision, but who are ready to take responsibility for it to come true. That group, whether you call it core group or you call it whatever, if that group has collective clarity of the need and purpose, and that is work to get there, and I can't even imagine how you guys are sleeping at night, because you started with 100, when we were last together, there were 115 members. Now there's 9,500 growing every minute as we sit. But that's, you know...
We didn't sleep.
No. But, you know, recently, where was this? This was in India, I think. In the training there we did at the university 3 weeks ago. The collective clarity was from this understanding was that the real leader anywhere is the purpose. And when the purpose is not clear, shared, or even for the common good, but it's for somebody's individual purpose, but it's hidden as hidden power or unspoken stuff, then there is no leader. You could have any amount of structure and call everybody leaders on different levels of scale, but if the clarity of purpose is missing, there's no organizing center. Purpose is the highest collective aspiration of any group. If we would achieve this, my life and the life of those we serve would have become better. This De Hoog's definition of purpose, and I love it. Purpose is the highest collective aspiration of any group. If we would achieve this, my life and the life of those, or our lives and the lives of those we serve, would have been enhanced or become better. So that's one point of that I wanted to say. The other is, and this is why we wanted to go directly from this into some practice, that I have seen and been part of hundreds of efforts over the years around clarity of vision and values has run like a disease across the planet. But the question about if this is the vision or this is our purpose, and these are the principles, this is how we want to behave in pursuit of making this purpose come true, then what is our practices? Then what is our practices? And I think this is where art of hosting and harvesting and the art of groundworking comes in, because it is a humble and powerful, maybe, response to the how. Because we can have it all up here, whether we are that organization or this organization, but unless we practice something in the here and now that allows us to be collaboratively wiser, and allows us to be more present, and allows us to be inferring, all of that is just nice mindfuck once again. And I think so this has been part of our exploration, is what are the practices underneath this foundation that can allow it to become real in a group of people in service of other people and the planet and so forth. Thank you, James. Beautiful. Thank you very much.